Hey Nigel. First name, last name, what's up? Okay. Just got to get Aurora up in here and then we're good to go. Second queen trap. How's the sound? Does it sound good for everybody? Sound is good, alright. YouTube Live is doing something weird. It doesn't have the end stream button anymore. It just doesn't exist. It's very strange. So now to end the stream I have to go in here, say stop streaming, then it somehow just ends it. YouTube is flipping out though. Hey Mr. West, Trixie. Yep, we'll be live with Aurora in just a second. Whenever she gets up in here. So if you guys have any questions you want to ask her, throw them up in the chat before she gets here. Throw them up in the chat. I think I might need to change the thumbnail. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. Seeker of Truth, what's up? What's with the title? It should be edited. Is it not edited? Is the title messed up?
Hello, Gary. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Good. Good to see you, man. How's everything?
Crazy, like always.
Yes.
I like your hair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Because you know I wasn't going to go on camera with my hair in curlers the other night when you asked me.
I mean, I was ready for it. I think it would have been all right.
No, you know something? I think some things are not ready for public.
It's okay. I need to make sure the stream is... No, I did edit it. Because they were saying that the stream title is off, but... I don't know. It's not a big deal. Alright, so we got...
Okay, can you hear me okay? Are my levels alright, or do I need to turn something up?
No, you're good. You're perfect. We are live. We have people in the chat. So again, if anyone wants to run anything by Aurora or ask any questions, just put that in the chat and I will relay the information.
Sounds good, because I don't have the chat flowing on my thing. I can't see it from where I am.
Right. If you
if you guys want to do a psychic experiment, you can also say something in the chat and see if I know what's going on.
Yeah. See if Aurora's tuned in for what's it called? Telepathy.
Right. like those cards, like 3 squiggly lines, or a star, or, you know, a square.
Organic telepathy. No.
That's what we're talking about. On a love-based system, if we didn't have all this techno-crapola, we would already be there.
Right. It's mimicking us anyway. I feel like all technology just mimics what already exists.
I totally agree, because I think that the technology and the beings who use and create technology, they don't have that innate creativity. Like, they can't really create life, they can't really create an organism, but they can take something that's pre-existing and kind of mishmash it into a new form. It's like if you're a real artist, you know, like you grind your own pigments, you make your own canvases, you prepare everything yourself, and like if you're not really that good as an artist, you get like paint by numbers where everything is already pre-made for you. These guys are paint by numbers. No offense to anybody who does paint by numbers, because I encourage creativity.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's like they just regurgitate the same exact thing, and they tweak a little bit of something here or there, but it's always the same thing, and it's always under the overarching umbrella of abuse and manipulation. At least here in this realm.
I feel like what they do with their dumbing down of the, you know, great artistry is to add psychopathology to it. So I don't really think that humans have innately these psychopathological characteristics that we see in terms of violence and greed and, you know, murder and rape. I don't think that's actually innately a part of what we are. But I think that in the taking of the great masterpiece of what we are and turning it into a paint by numbers, that's what they add, I think, or they take away our masterpiece greatness and turn us into little psychopaths.
Yeah, if you're too weak to resist, because I think most people don't even. It's so invisible to the average person that if you haven't been seeking and searching and going down rabbit holes, you won't even know. It's like the prison with the invisible bars. You don't know you're in a prison to begin with.
The worst type of prison, and also I would say it is an inner struggle about what personality characteristics you identify with. If you're like, yes, I am a greedy person and I would shoot anyone in order to get money, then it's like you clearly have embodied and encapsulated the psychopathology. But if you have those temptations and you avoid them and you're like, no, I don't think I will eat that donut, that's not for me, then you're rising above. And I feel like that's what the whole, like, if there's any lesson, because I'm kind of big on this feeling of like this realm that we're in. Some people say it's a schoolhouse and you're learning lessons and these are your dark teachers, and I'm like, no, you're just being tortured and tormented. Like, it's not that you're learning a lesson, but if there's any, like, if you are getting anything positive out of this experience, I think it's the opportunity to display who you really are, even under great duress. Like, if someone is like, I tempt you with this crazy thing that you can do, and some of it's even condoned or applauded by society. Like, if you look at stockbrokers and these cutthroat capitalists and venture capitalists, you know, vulture capitalists, they're like, good job on your psychopathology, your bank account is currently rising, you know, like they get rewarded for it. So in this place, like, a lot of things are normalized that are not innately a part of human and are not positive, but you will get rewarded if you play along with them.
Right.
That was your boss!
Yeah, she's going to check out the outside.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was with my client the day before, Friday, right? And he was going into some business. I forgot even what business it was, but he wanted to check something out, like a FedEx, or I think he was getting a calendar. And I was sitting on the curb outside, and I was approached by these two guys who turned out to be Christians, and they were nice guys. They were Asian. They said they were from out of town, and they were trying to say, like, have you heard of Jesus and this and that. First off, everyone's heard of Jesus. Like, you can't really use that line anymore. Every single person has heard of Jesus. But, like, part of his shtick was that the original sin idea, because that's what that whole, like, the flipped version of Christianity, it needs that original sin idea. It doesn't work without it. So I was telling him that. I was like, he was saying, no, people are born selfish and greedy, and they just want to take. And I was like, no, you're taught that. You are taught how to be selfish. You're taught how to be greedy. You're put into an artificial scarcity system, and hopefully you'll flip toward the dark side and then feel real guilty and real sinful, and then of course need a savior. And I was telling him, like, no, like, feel inside of yourself in the moment that you're in and just see, do I feel greedy as is? Do I feel like I want to go molest this person next to me? Do I feel like I want to go steal that guy's iPhone, etc.? Just as your energy sits. And you can't even use that argument. Like, they've done studies where they put a kid, very small child, like 2 to 3 year old, in this room with this guy, and they had the guy act like he was fumbling with some drawers and like he couldn't get it open or something. They didn't give the kid any instructions, but the kid's natural tendency was to go over there and to try to help him open the thing. Very natural. Like, the whole idea that people are born in sin is just programming. It's only programming.
I totally agree. And so years ago, like literally 15 plus years ago, when I was kind of new in this world, I did a ton of professional babysitting, and I was a live-in nanny. So I learned a lot about early childhood, human behavior and everything like that. And I'm absolutely agreeing with you that for the most part, the children that I worked with were very giving and very generous, even though, children don't have money, but they would like pick up a leaf on the ground and give it to me. Like, they would be that way. There were really only maybe 1 or 2 kids where I had this magic crystal that the kids loved to play with. Like, I carried it with me in like a little crystal holster, and we talked about it like it was my cell phone to the cosmos. Like, it was an imagination tool, and also a very real crystal. And only one little kid, he tried to steal it. And like, I think like, he might have come in with some innate baggage or something like that. Like, he's not the natural generosity type of person. But for the most part, that was what young people were like that I interacted with. And when I look at the Bible, and again, this is not meant to be offensive to anybody that has a deeply held belief, because like, if you're trying to go in a more positive direction in your life and you're inspired by the Bible, that's wonderful. And I know I wear a cross, but I'm always like making a distinction between who I am, and I'm not a biblical literalist, because I feel that the Bible is a harmful piece of technology. Literally, like, how fire from Prometheus is a technology, even though it's not a microchip technology, but the actual book of the Torah and the idea of original sin, I call it a technology because I feel that it is something that was like given to humanity, that humans didn't develop on their own, and it contains that thing that you talked about, the idea or premise of original sin, is a harmful software program to put into the naive human. If you come here thinking like, I'm great, I got created somehow, and I'm walking around doing stuff, and then someone says, here's this book, and this book says that you are erroneous, and that on a foundation level you did something wrong just by being here, and that then they can sell you the cure because you have terrible feelings of guilt and insecurity and all of that worthlessness that comes from that book. When I say that it's technology, like, part of the Jewish religion is that if it's to be a real Torah, it has to be written on this animal skin. That's parchment. So you take a live animal, you kill it, you take its skin, and you write a bunch of words on it in the hopes that that makes those words true. And our belief makes those words true also. I think it's a huge thing in terms of like breaking your shackles here, to reject the Bible, because the Bible is the foundation of what so much of culture here is all about. And it doesn't mean that you reject, like, you go murdering people or anything like that. Like, I'm against the Bible, I can therefore kill. Like, no, it's not like that. But it's more like rejecting those basic premises that say there's something innately wrong with you as a human. Oh, your boss is beautiful. She might be thirsty. She's looking at your water.
She's very sweet. She's just... Let's not show the butthole to everybody.
I know, we saw your booty.
Yeah, and I feel like the people are more open now to even considering other possibilities than that. Either the Bible is 100% correct, or it's just this dangerous thing that we can't even talk about. I feel like we're moving beyond that sort of black and white understanding of it, because there's a lot in between with that book, and if people are believing in it for the most part, you can talk to them through that understanding and let them know that the Jesus Christ character is good as a premise, and he taught, be nice to people. That's his basic message, right?
Basic human secularism. You don't even have to bring God into it. You just do like treat other people the way you want to be treated, and that's the basic message of that teacher.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's very simple. But I feel like the programming has gone very deep inside of the collective psyche, and it's literally like, it's like a thorn that's very, very deep inside of your energetic body, that light body. It's like there's a thorn that's like sticking in there.
I think it's at this level here, because this is the Christ chakra, and this is where we should all be able to see time directly. You know, basically, you become a super being when you're activated on this level up here, and then it's like a lens. And then if you have a smear on that lens or something that's in front of it, I think of that as Antichrist, and it's a series of false assertions or false, it's anti-intelligence, it's false light, it's not the truth of who we are and what we can be. And I feel, again, no offense to anybody who's a practicing Christian, so much of the dogmatic Christianity in the church is really Antichrist. It's really about encouraging people to die. Like the idea that, okay, this is why it's a non-starter for me. Like, you guys know I'm a walk-in and everything like that. All right, so the way I look at things, you're not supposed to die at all. Like, you're supposed to avoid death, avoid the membranes of death, only stay alive and keep on playing the right music that in the cosmos that you need to play to stay alive. But here comes this religion that says, no, what you want to do is die and then get saved and then get resurrected by this guy who's magical. That sounds to me totally irrational, and like you're supposed to first drive your car off the road over a cliff, then magically you will be placed back on the road, and then drive your car to your destination. Like, none of that makes sense to me.
You'll be fixed. By the way, you're getting lots of compliments on your hair. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you so much, guys. You're wonderful. Thank you. It's very kind.
Yeah. It's a very slow unwinding, I think, because the bars are like I said earlier, they're completely invisible. They're not completely invisible, but even within our own collective mind, like when you first ask the first question, like, why, what is this original sin? Like, can I look at that concept even? And when you first look at that, if you've been deep inside of the thing, you're gonna have the immediate recoil, like, oh God, I should not. That's a sin to even be thinking about. Is that correct or not? Like, it's very deep.
You're not allowed to poke certain sacred cows, and there's inner firewalls that if you do, you start to say, what would mother say? What would father say? What would priest say? What would aunt so-and-so say?
Mm-hmm. But the basic, it feels like the basic desire, and I have a hard time trying to get into the mind of whatever runs this place, because it's so anti-creative that I try to get in there. Yeah, I try to get in there and be like, if I wanted to subjugate the entire planet, like, how would I think?
Right.
And it's just difficult for me to even comprehend, because it's like every single thing is an inversion, and there's lots of hiding. Like, that thing is always hiding. Doesn't want to.
That thing lies, and it lies to itself. So it lies about its true motivations to itself, pretending to be, I'm a wonderful stand-up guy, while it's creating this prison designed to torment us. I smile because it's horrible, not because it's disconnected from reality.
Yeah. It's difficult. I can't even imagine. I don't even know if this entity is like self-aware or not. It feels almost like an autonomous thing that developed over time, literally created as an amalgamation of everybody's fears, like the book Chasm or something, where everyone's fears have some sort of physical viscosity to them, and they all congeal into this pool of shit, basically. And then that thing is like what everything else is humming around. It's kind of like that.
You give a beautiful description, calling it a viscosity. Like, if we're going to say, here's a light wave, and I'm traveling, and I would go very fast, but then I hit this stuff that kind of makes me slow down a little bit. I think that's what we're talking about. And I agree with you. Like, I have questions about the level of sentience and self-awareness that this thing can have. It's not the same as you and I that are truly sentient and truly, fractals of the divine. I think this is a thing that's more reactive to our divinity, to our creativity, to our life force, and it's always trying to see, like, well, if I poke, like in science, you do like stimulus and reaction. Like, if I poke you here, then you will go over here. So if I want you to go over here, I'm going to poke you here. Like, it knows how to corral us by poking us.
Yeah.
That's not the same as intelligence.
Yeah, I don't even think that it sees us really as we are. I think it sees us, it's like a cat playing with food or something. Like, it knows sort of the boundaries of how we move, but it's missing all of the sort of intricacies of humanity. Like, we're very subtle, intricate, beautiful beings, but this thing is just like, put this wall here, watch it bounce off that one into that one into that one.
Let's say this, that thing cannot perceive or operate under operating system love. We work on love. So let's say that you were deaf and you could not hear music, and that there's this whole organism or species that eats music, but you don't know that. You can't, but you see their behavior, you see them running around and doing stuff, but you can't actually hear what is feeding them. That's this thing that we're talking about, that is this cosmic psychopath. It doesn't run on love, it doesn't perceive love. So when it sees two people hugging, it's just like, oh look, they are pressing their pectoral muscles together. But you understand that a hug is way, way more than that. Since all of this corona crapola, I have not been hugging that. I'm usually a big hugger, and I have all sorts of little friends around town. I walk around with my dog, we visit friends. I haven't been hugging that much, and I met a friend at the gas station the other day, and we had like a good, like a 3-month hug, because we haven't seen each other for so long. And I walked away, I was so charged up. I was like, I feel wonderful. Like, you really get a charge out of it. It's not just that your bodies are pressing together.
Yeah, it's very much more than that. And it's almost like, if somebody breaks up, you have a narcissist that eventually the empath gets away, and the narcissist is like, well, if I can't have you, nobody else is going to have you. It's like the narcissist wants to shut down everything that being is, because they can't have them in the fashion that they want. That's what this place is. Like, this place sees, I can't actually have them like how I want, so I'm just going to turn them off in every possible way that I can and just watch them suffer, because I don't want them to be able to have whatever. It doesn't even know what we can have. It just knows it doesn't want us to have it.
I would even say that unbecoming romantic behavior that you described, that like out of balance type of relationship stuff, that's the fractal miniature version of the giant psychopath that has us in this realm. It's like a bad boyfriend or a bad girlfriend, where it's like, I love you, I hate you, I want you, I can't own you, but I want to be you, but I want to own you, I want to put something inside of you, like that whole like mommy issues, I want to own and control you, I want to be you, I want to be inside of you, all of that stuff. It's all very unhealthy. You can see it when you're in a partnership, hopefully, and you can see it when it's a self-proclaimed God that's programming this reality. Because those things, this thing that we're talking about, it doesn't have a body, not in the way that we have a real, organic, like alive, juicy body. And so they're these evil things, and it's fractals. They're always like, oh, you have a body, I want your body. But then they're also like, but you're ugly and poopy and gross and disgusting, but I'm attracted to your body and I want to squeeze you, but you're smelly and stinky, like all of that. I think that's what demonic possession is all about. The demons want to like poke you and eat you and destroy you, but then they're also like, but I want to come inside of you and then feel what it's like to eat tacos and have sex, and then I want to destroy you some more.
It's very weird. It's that whole, like, I call all the insults that narcissists say to you, they're describing themselves, and they can never possibly see that that's what they're actually doing.
Yes.
It's like when you confront this, it's a very specific energy. When someone is doing that, you feel from them 100% manipulation. So if they feel you trying to move in any way, even if it's not aggressive, and usually it's not aggressive because we care about people. So, but if it feels like you're trying to, it's like they have in their mind an exact canal or whatever that they want you to behave down, especially, via fear. So if number one, you don't have fear, they can't do anything anyway. But if they can't feel the fear from you, then they exude displeasure that you're moving in any other way than they want you to. But then they can't even tell you which way that they want you to move. So you couldn't even please them even if you were actually trying. And lots of empaths, they try to fit that impossible form. And then, so it just ends up in an endless feeding cycle.
That sounds to me more like ownership of a pet or domestication of an animal. Like, none of that behavior sounds to me like what real, mature, romantic partnership is supposed to be like, or even friendship, because this can happen in a non-sexual relationship too. If you're, like you said, energetically sensitive, and you have this other person that is grasping and controlling and ownership of you as a friend, and you're always trying to accommodate them somehow, like, okay, like, we'll roll the windows up, or we'll use the air conditioning, or we'll go to the restaurant that you like, and then you realize at a certain point that it's more about them trying to control you. The control and ownership, none of that is about a real love-based relationship. Because, like, okay, my collective, what I come from, that, is my species, for lack of a better word, we're all about love, real love. That's a different definition of romantic partnership, but it's about, like, allowing something to be free. That's why I am personally insulted when I look at the crapola on this planet. That's why I came here through Flying Rainbow Lasagna. I'm like, I am personally insulted by the lack of freedom. And I'm not the only one. Like, I want you to know, like, there are other larger beings, like, you know, overarching beings that know what's going on here, and they know that you're not free, and they're not okay with it either. Like, nothing about this life circumstance here that's going on in this world is condoned by the cosmos. It's like some, like, you know, when there's a back alley thing going on, like gambling or prostitution, and you know what's going on back there, but it's illegal. Like, that's what this planet is. That's what this world and this, not only economy, but the social, the tendencies that we're talking about here. Because a lot of it, what we're talking about right now, doesn't have anything to do with money. It's like your belief system about religion, or about who you are as a human, or about what is proper in relationship. And I'll even go back to the Bible. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's about owning women like you own a cattle, like you own a camel, you know, like the buying and selling of women, like women as property. And I think that that still is evident 5,000 plus years later in the world right here. Like, that's a pretty strong programming of humanity to be like, yes, you marry a woman and you own her. And like that whole idea of, you know, that's not love and freedom.
Right. It's just, it's so very deeply ingrained that, you know, the conversations that I have on here, this is a rarity. This is not something that happens out there. And
Right.
it's like, you can't even have, most people that comment there are aware that they can't have a conversation like this that's even approaching any of these things, because it's going to trigger whoever they're talking to in 1,000 different ways, because this person has never examined it yet. So it's even rare to be able to have a position where you can openly discuss what's going on without fear of reprisal every 2 words that you say.
Definitely. If you poke sacred cows, people will shoot the messenger. That is what I have learned. And I'm very without a filter, and I'm a cultural outsider, which is like being from another country. And I have said many, many things over the time that I've been here, where I then instantly, from the reaction, I was like, oh, I now regret exactly what I just said. And then I, you know, had to learn all about it. But actually, I think maybe it was divine. Maybe it was right for me to have no filter and just simply say these things to humans that are here. Because, like, I don't have the same cultural, like, things that are holding me back. Like, if you come from a place where circumcision is normal and everybody does that, and then you come here and you're like, what? Like, you cut off baby parts of penises? Like, that? What are you guys doing here? That is what. But if I say that to some people, they're like, well, that's our religion. Who the heck are you to say anything about it? Like, I definitely have had a pushback from the people that I inadvertently criticize. But I think it's worthy criticism, because there's some insane psychopathic things that people do here as if they're normal.
There's a lot of them.
Yes.
There are a lot of them, and even outside of the insane psychopathic things, outside of that, just the general way that people behave, what people consider is good as far as work, what is considered essential as far as work.
Yeah.
It's like, people are going sitting in cubicles and they're just pushing papers around. Like, we're not with the nature, we're not, you know, working with the land and whatnot. It's like this veneer separation has happened for almost everybody, and the whole thing, it feels to me like the whole thing is a lie. Like, you're getting up, you're going to work, you're coming back, you're trying to toe the line of PC correctness, you know, so as to keep your job, and that ridiculousness is showing its face fully with the mask thing. It's saying, like, you will do this or else, and if you try to ask a question about it, they won't even acknowledge the thing you're trying to ask, like, is the mask effective or not? And that's not going into, is the virus real or not? Like, there's so many layers of lies, it's ridiculous.
So I had my little walk with my dog this morning through the local park, and there's tons of people out on a Sunday. That makes me happy, because it wasn't that way a couple of months ago, and everyone was fearfully quaking inside. But so many people here wear a mask, even though, so I'm in Southern California, and the rules here are that you do not have to wear a mask if you're outside exercising and if you're able to stay 6 feet apart from others. So I'm like walking my dog, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm like, hey man, I'm exercising. I saw so many people that were riding bikes and they were with their children. The whole family is masked up. I saw this one little kid that was wearing like a helmet and sunglasses and a mask. You could not actually see the child in there. And I was, you know, I feel a range of emotions all about this, but it's very much what you were saying. And I think you might have mentioned this before, but not on this show, that it was about pleasure stimulation. Like, when you conform to this AI-controlled superstructure, it gives you a pat on the head, which might be stimulating your pleasure centers inside. So if you wear a mask like a good girl or a good boy, then you will feel those happy feelings. And if you dare to be naughty and not wear a mask, then you'll not only feel the social displeasure of other people around you, give you the stink eye, but it's also internally, you feel internal criticism. And a lot of the, oh, hello, my dear. Good to see you. You look beautiful today.
Aw, so do you. Look at your hair. Beautiful.
Yeah. If you do things that go against the superstructure, then you get criticized. And I think that's a big part of the torture and torment of this world. Like, we get tortured through inner criticism. Like, that's a big thing. I mean, I know, so before crapola, when you could actually go out to parties or whatever, like, I would go out to a party, meet people, blah, blah, like, you say funny things and funny things happen, and then you come home from the party and you're thinking to yourself, like while you drive or walk home, you're like, oh, that guy said that thing, and I said that, and that was so funny. Like, you kind of, like, get reverberations of fun and nourishment from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned and realized that for a lot of people, when they walk home from a party, they're really down on themselves. They're like, I said that thing, that was totally wrong, I put my foot in my mouth, I looked stupid, I was stupid, I am horrible, and then they go home feeling worse than when they first went out. I didn't understand that, because that's all like demons chomping away at you. Mm-hmm. When you go out and you socialize with others, you're supposed to walk away feeling a charge. Like, you're supposed to give love and get love, and that part of that is social approval, right? And it's just from being yourself, not because you have to somehow contort yourself into being the right thing. Like, if I walk like this, they'll love me. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be able to, like, be your true self, and then you walk home and they love you. So much of this mask thing is the super exacerbation of that tendency, where people are really, like, wanting to get social approval. They constantly are used to getting inner criticism, and it's like, oh, if I do the wrong thing, then I'll get social disapproval, I'll feel inner criticism, I'll walk around feeling like a total schmuck or the worst person in the world. And none of that is real. That's like the projection of technology that tells you you're a worthless sinner. That none of that is truthful in the cosmos.
Yeah. It's showing us, it's showing, well, we know more than your average person, probably, but even for me, when I saw this thing start unfolding, I was like, oh my god, this is worse than I thought. Like,
yeah.
This is not just, some meanies running the world. This is, like, fully depraved, fully rotten apple, like, to the nth degree of just interested in control and just interested in harvesting. And there's nothing, it's not even pretending anymore. Like, whatever this entity is that's having everyone run around, it doesn't even pretend anymore. It's just like, it opens its big mouth, and then you walk outside and you can see through everybody conforming that it's just all of these fear energies and whatever are just pouring into that open mouth. Like, that's all that it is. It's nothing beyond that.
I think you're right. Like, in a war, first you have the hidden war or the cold war, like whatever. It's not a shooting war, a hot war. Then at a certain point it's over. It's like, oh, it's not just about politics or posturing or something like that, or trade wars. At a certain point it's got actual bullets and bombs flying and things like that. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm not using the wrong keywords. I'm just thinking about that now. But anyway, I feel like that's what it's like in the psychic warfare that we've been experiencing. That for a long time it's been something that has been more subtle and more covert, and you could still have a decent quality of life because it wasn't quite so in your face. But what happened this year was they totally took off their pretense, and they're like, we are here to destroy you. Like, we are here. So, like, I've written about this and spoken about this for a long time, and it's a big part of my mission, like, why I'm here, why I'm flying Rainbow Lasagna here, to tell humans, like, your planet has been invaded. And I would tell them that for a long time, and of course, like, there's a lot of not only rational resistance to this, but because human consciousness is toxified. And when I say that, I mean you breathe in chemicals and other particulate matter and are subjected to frequencies and chemicals that are toxic in your system and make it difficult for you to think for yourself and accept that even the truth that you are being toxified. So if I come forward and I say, your planet has been invaded, you say, oh, you are simply a crazy person. I will now go about my business and go to my job and get my happy zaps because I'm doing the right thing. And it's taken up until this point. That was like 2014. I was always on the computer telling everyone, like, look at the sky, like this, they are spraying effing crap on you, and it's getting into your mind, and it's affecting your ability to think clearly for yourself. People say, yeah, you're crazy, except some of those of you who do see it and who do know that that's true, and you agreed with me. And many of you did not shoot the messenger. But now it's 6+ years later that this has been a constant toxicity given to humans. It's almost as if everybody is intellectually disabled. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to try to speak to the intellect and say, I will show you the information and I'll put it in an outline form that you can easily read, they still cannot understand it and accept it. That's the war that we're in. So with humans going in the past 6 or 7 years from being sentient and self-aware and being able to think for themselves to being so intellectually toxicified, I don't know if that's the right word, but you got so much chemical crap in you, you can't even think clearly, that now is when they can just take off any pretense. Because what they're playing upon is the idea that you're just too stupid to notice at this point. And of course, clearly, me, Gary, and many others that are tuned in, and many other people who do their own private broadcasts, we're not too stupid to know what's going on. We're very, very smart. Even if you spray me with a million chemicals, I still see what's going on, and I'm still going to have a big mouth and talk all about it.
Mm-hmm. And we have to. There aren't many voices left that can't even have the conversation. I mean, and we know why. I know why that is. I know that the people that are speaking that haven't been shut down, it's because we are fucking warriors, pardon my French. We've been through this torture for the most part. It's been a lot of torture, and if the thing can't eat your mind, all that happens is your mind gets very powerful, and then the thing is like, okay, like, let me just leave that one alone now, because now it hurts when I try to eat it. So it's like we become too spiky for it.
That's a beautiful description, and that's part of the cosmic maturation process. So we are growing muscles. Like, if you do enough of this, resistance training, then you do get very strong psychic muscles. And at a certain point, you become unpalatable, unchompable, and also you can punch back. You can bite back. And they are cowards. Like, they don't like to pick on people that can act. They don't like blowback. They're just like easy victims.
They don't want any blowback. Like, it's the fear that they have is so deep, and it's partially because they're trying to run away from karma. I know there's a certain group of people that are like, I caught a glimpse of what, like, my own karma is going to be, and, like, I'm trying to run away from the whole fucking universe. Like, I'm trying to open portals and run into other dimensions.
Do you think that's you? You think you need to escape your karma?
Not me.
So bad? Oh, good, not you.
No, not me. I just know that there are certain beings that they're terrified of facing their own shit.
You hit the nail on the head. That's what this whole charade is all about. They are not masters of manipulating time, but they're kind of crappy jerks in the way that they manipulate time. So think of it like, time machine and time travel and manipulation of time is this incredibly sophisticated tool that you can use, and you should be a really responsible, excellent intellectual person to be able to do it. They're not good at what they do. Kind of like a Rick and Morty episode where it's like, oh, I've got a magical, remote control that I can use to reverse the world, so I'll just use it for, like, eating cheese puffs and, like, finding a girlfriend. Like, it's high technology in the hands of very low mentality. That's what we're witnessing. So everything, when they are really afraid of the blowback from their karma, they're like, I'll create a magical remote control that controls time, and then I'll make something different happen. Like, they think that they can avoid it. You can't just endlessly keep the can down the road and avoid the consequences. That's literally what is happening right now. Like, I'm happy to report to everyone that their crap time machine and everything they do in terms of avoiding responsibility, that's all out the window. Like, the recycling center from the moon and keeping everybody entrapped here, that's all out the window. All the things that they used as a crutch to maintain their empire is out the window. And you're not going to have that anymore. So they are, as Gary said, they're like junkies looking for the next fix, and they're also trying really, really hard to escape their debts and run away, and you can't.
Right. And like, I feel like it's gotten too far past, because, like, these entities, they don't wish to have a conversation with us. I know that for a fact. Like, they're not gonna, let's go on the Snail Show and discuss, what's been happening over the last few thousand years. It's like, no, let's go hide under bunkers behind all of our weaponry and psychic defense shields and try to act like we don't exist. Like, that's what it actually is. It's not anything about, there's no intellectual prowess in there that's just hiding, waiting for the opportunity to finally show itself.
And I would even say their desire to hide under bunkers, like that's a desire to escape the cosmic energy that really is flowing to our planet right now. That if you simply got rid of all this stupid technology that is here right now, everything from computers and Wi-Fi to the electricity, because a big part of what inhibits our real consciousness, it's the electrical lines that are in your neighborhood. Like there's a frequency that's piggyback frequency that goes through the electrical lines beyond sharing electrons so you can light up your house. That is about reducing your consciousness, and everything else like Sun Simulator and 5G from the sky, Starlink, all of that stuff. If you turned off all of that stuff, what would happen is Earth would be inundated with this amazing amount of cosmic energy that would not incinerate you, that would actually nourish and heal you and enlighten you and turn you into your true self as a super being. And they're hiding in bunkers and underground because they're like, no, light of truth, divine light, don't touch me, I don't want to be near you. But it's going to get them anyway.
It hurts too much.
That's it. like Gollum or whatever, like, no, the light, it hurts.
Yeah, they start sizzling or, just turn into water.
Any vampire movie where you put them in the sunlight and they liquefy or they turn to ashes, all of those fictional accounts work.
Somebody was asking about pineal drip. I think Susie asked, what do you have to say about the pineal gland?
Drip? Like a drip of water?
She just said, what does Aurora think about the pineal drip? I think she's referring to the way that when it's functioning correctly, the pineal gland is supposed to release a small amount just throughout ordinary life to help your... It's almost like getting a small dose of DMT almost throughout your life, to where your life is kind of like a dream state, and it's not so hard and heavy.
Yes.
Is that...
Yes, but I would say instead of thinking about it in a molecular term, because I know that we've all been indoctrinated by science to think in terms of this molecule over here creates this consciousness state over here, like very reductionist. Like just take a molecule and you will feel like this. It's about more than just taking a molecule. But yes, your pineal gland absolutely emits chemicals and hormones that affect your consciousness. So if we weren't inundated by these fake frequencies here, we would all be naturally tripping, but not tripping in the way that you might. I mean, I have minimal experience at tripping on psychedelic drugs. Like I have to protect my brain from all these things because I've had epilepsy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But from what I understand about what tripping is, that natural tripping, first of all, does not involve any of the like anxiety plateaus and like going through these fear barriers. Like it's not like because when you take a molecule that makes you trip, you've got all of this debris, kind of like if you could imagine like a riverbed or something like that takes up floodwaters, but there's been no flood for a really long time. So you've got boulders and debris and branches in there, and then when you actually put water through there, the water comes crashing through and it hits a branch, it hits a boulder, like it's got to clear out a lot of stuff. That's what it's like when you are not cleared out and perfectly cultivated inside, and you take a molecule that turns up the water pressure and sends a lot of water down your riverbed.
Yeah.
Just hit a fear, just hit a trauma, just hit a this. Like it becomes a whitewater thing when what it's supposed to be is a smooth, like beautiful flow of energy that flows through you. So our natural state would be tripping, but not a fear-based white knuckle, like, oh my God, kind of tripping, not a fear and loathing in Las Vegas type of thing. More connection to the divine and real knowing. Like everyone here is used to this type of intellectual pursuit of information. Intellectual pursuit is almost like walking up steps, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, conclusion. But when you have true insight, you simply see the conclusion. You don't have to kind of inch your way on up there.
Yeah.
It is a real knowing. And that's your guidance through your whole life. So you're supposed to go through this life guided by your own pineal gland or inner eye. You could call it God positioning system. Like it is the divine telling you what's ahead in the landscape and which direction do you want to go in order to stay alive and have wonderful adventures as opposed to die and be mangled and be tortured.
Good orderly direction, right? God? Good orderly direction.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. That's what it should be.
I heard that one in AA. Yeah. It's really messy. Like it's interesting. Every time I've taken something like a psychedelic whatever, it's always been like white knuckle, try to survive psychically through the experience. And I know internally that there should be a way that I can take something without, feeling like the world's ending. But I feel like every time I did that, I was tapping into, like I was given these glasses that showed me the they live glasses, but I was given the they live glasses while I was on these things, which amplified everything, so it just made it into a big old horror show.
And I would say, from my experience, like last October, I started to have some experiences that I would say are a natural ascension experience, because I didn't take any particular molecule to have this feeling inside of me. And what happened was, it was when PG&E was turning off preemptively a lot of the electricity in my area because of the threat of fires and like the beginning of fires with the power lines. They turned off a lot of the electrical grid. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, like I feel my consciousness expanding. Like I felt like a huge burden was lifted. First of all, I felt like naturally happy, calm, and peaceful. And that is not my usual state. I usually have to work really, really hard to like block out the crapola, like happy, calm, and peaceful, happy, calm, and peaceful. Like, it's very, very hard, right, guys. And I felt naturally that way. I also felt like during my day, I'm usually very like, I have a million tasks to do. Like I have to wake up and I have to do this, this, and this, and I have to paint a painting, and I have to do artwork, and I have to do music, and then I have to do this and that. But at those moments, I felt like, wow, all I need to do is be. Being is enough. Being is the creative activity. And in those moments, I also felt like technology was the fakest, lamest thing in the world. I would be sitting in my backyard, like literally under a tree, just being. And the idea of like, do I have to look at something on my email? Like, I know I need to intellectually, I know I need to be responsible and do this thing, but it felt like so lame, inconsequential, stupid, and that's real ascension. I think that if they had kept off the electrical grid and that they didn't do any of this other, pardon my French, fuckery that they've been doing with us, like they've really ramped up the spraying and all the things and all the 5G in order to keep us imprisoned here. If that was not going on, guys, I think we would all be having this beautiful, in a natural ascension. It's like a peaceful going upward like this. It's not a roller coaster like dizzying highs and deep lows and then back up again. Like, it's not that oscillation. It's just a very natural progression upward. And as my viewpoint increased and went upward, I started to think like, wow, this is what it would be like, that you're fulfilled all the time, like this constant striving that we experience. We're at the lower levels. You don't feel that when you're at the natural tripping state. Just like including hunger and thirst. Like in those moments, I didn't feel hungry and thirsty, but then afterwards I did. I was like, wow, if I could just sustain this, like I would save on my grocery bills. But then it didn't stay, and I'm still eating hamburgers. So
yeah, it never stays. I know. Well, maybe so. At some point, the sort of bliss that the gurus talk about is some sort of like natural state. But I think in this place we've been so far away from it that when we imagine, like, if I would want, say we're eternal beings, which it looks like that might be the case, if I would want some sort of baseline state, like, I don't even imagine some bliss thing. I imagine like just calm, like it's calm, and then outside of the calm you can move, create, have a conversation, whatever, but it's not there is no pull or inclination toward trying to be in a certain particular type of way, because that thing, that pull to be in a certain particular way, that is the whole thing. Like, that's the whole entire control structure, because the control structure, when it's dealing with the infinite, which is what we are, it can't say, okay, out of infinity, this is how you must act when we're trying to force you to be a certain particular way. It can't know that. It can't know what it wants you to be. So it has to put into everybody the feeling that I must be a certain particular way. Don't know exactly what it is. Then not knowing what it is actually part of the trap, because you never know if you did it right or not. Even if you're trying to fulfill the sort of needs of this beast creature, like, you never know. You're always like, oh, did I do it right? Am I going to go to hell? Am I not going to go to hell? That whole feeling is pervasive.
I think if we had the God positioning system really fully functional in ourselves, we wouldn't have this question of like, am I allowed to do this or not allowed to do this? Will doing this thing send me to hell, or torment me endlessly? Because it's all, you can feel it inside. Like, if you're a really good musician, You don't intellectually think like, should I play an A? Should I play a C? Like, you're in the music is flowing through you, and you just hit that note because you know what you're supposed to do, and you're not like, I don't know, consequences and ramifications if I hit a G, if I hit an A. I think you get to be, and that's real freedom, and that's real bliss without this sense of self-consciousness and fear of judgment, that all that biblical stuff, like the man in the sky with the long beard, the sky god will smite you if you play the wrong note. And I'm telling you, that is not what the cosmos is like. Even though you have to try to play the right notes, but there definitely is room for jazz and bebop and exploration and, let's say, exploring your own. Like, you have to have your own artistic confidence. Like, to say, like, I'm playing an A because that's what I want to play. Like, that sounds right to me. I'm doing that. And I think that, like, that's what this world is. The more that we do that, like, I'm not going to wear a mask because that doesn't feel right to me. I'm going to do this because that feels right to me. That's why I've been approaching it in my small town. Like, everybody already knows me, and I already walk around all these stores all the time for, like, many years. We go in every day with my little dog, and they started to do a mask thing. But a lot of the stores, like, they know me, and I'm just in there to say a quick hello, and, like, I don't put on a mask. And I'm like, I'm just doing what feels right to me, and I'm not having, like, some kind of giant protest laying down the street or whatever. Just playing the notes that feel right to me. Yeah, but if you want to protest in the street, that's totally fine. But I'm trying to say, like, that's it. That what real freedom and bliss is like when you're grooving in time and you do the things like unself-consciously, like you walk around being your true self. That's a radical thing to do. That's a revolution. If you walk around unself-consciously being your true self, connected to God.
Right. Yeah, and the thing thrives on. It thrives on people grasping onto the very simple, like, off-on switch that it presents, and then taking a position. So it's like, it puts out a thing. Mask, okay? Mask on, mask off. Everyone gather around either pole, okay? And then scream and yell at each other, and like, scream about whether they're effective or not. Scream about this or that or the other thing. It doesn't give a shit. It just wants you on or off, and then yelling about it. So if you do something different, completely different, or just forget about it. Like, oh, is there something going on outside? Was there some coronavirus thing? I forgot about it already. Like, you don't allow the mental thing to pervade throughout your entire day. And if you get upset going into stores, then just reduce the amount of time that you have to go into stores, you know? Like, I don't even feel like I'm involved in whatever is, like, pretending to happen out there. I know my position on the beast that's trying to eat everybody. Not a big fan of that. And that's to the extent. I'm not going to go have an argument with someone who's not even willing to listen to simple logic about whether a mask works or not. Like, if we can't have that, and if they're just going to excrete unhappy feelings at me because I didn't follow the rule, then there's no point in even engaging.
We are in a very difficult position right now, or challenging position, because we are in a one-room schoolhouse with a variety of different levels of intelligence, expertise, and education. So we've got all of these different, and it's not based on your chronological age. Like, there's some super with it little babies who are 1 year old, and there's people that are 67 years old and they don't get it. Like, it's not about how old you are in this schoolhouse, but all of these levels of development are mishmashed into the same world right now. And so the challenge is, like, a lot of the people that believe in the government propaganda and they believe in the official narrative, and they're playing along with the charade of the thing that you feel like you're totally disconnected from, their reality is at a different level than your reality. And the challenge is when worlds collide, when, like, they're like primed, they're like charged, like, you're full of this particular world mindset and propaganda, and then they come upon you and you're full of a different world view. That, I mean, like, I don't want to validate both worldviews as being equally truthful, because they're equally valid. There is such a thing as empirical truth. Like, if there is not actually a virus, if there's not actually a contagion to be afraid of here, and some people are believing in it as if you believe in a boogeyman, you cannot say that they're believing in empirical truth. You can't just say, well, it's their truth because they believe in it. Like, right. I think we really have to, at a certain point, go beyond that accommodation stance and be like, no, there really is such a thing as right and wrong. There really is such a thing as what's going on and what isn't going on. And you're not in the minority. If you don't watch TV and you don't ingest propaganda and you're like, I am seriously skeptical about the existence of this supposed contagion based on all the things that I see with my own eyes, and other people are very invested in that narrative, in that truth. There really is a right and a wrong. Like, you can't just be like, oh, like, let's just call it even, and you go your way and I go mine. Like, somebody's actually got to admit that they aren't right. And when you're totally immature, even though you might be 67 years old, but you're immature inside, maybe you can't admit that you ain't right, and that's the problem here.
Yeah. I feel what you're saying. I've always felt when it comes to that thing, if you have mature people, it has to be, if my position in life is literally like trying to force all of the other beings and creatures around me to just even react to my existence, which is what the mask thing does to some extent, me sitting here wearing a mask and judging everyone who's not, even if you're just sending out a psychic feeling of displeasure, you are affecting that person's life.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. In a telepathic world, what you send out is psychic displeasure. That's like punching someone in the face. Like, it's not okay to do that. And
right.
It does not make it acceptable.
Right. And then if you have the whole herd behaving like that because, they got the beep, beep, beep implant, whatever download,
right,
then yes, that empirically speaking from, I don't even know what you could call it, just experience. Like, we've experienced many things. We know how this game is played, right? Empirically speaking from our own experience, that's like breaking the rules. You're by your very sort of worldview, you're making people around you feel uncomfortable. That's breaking the rules. That's to my mind, that's completely breaking the rules.
They find it offensive that you are not pantomiming along with what they believe in as a deeply held program. That's what's going on here. Like, if the vitriol that comes from those who believe in the agenda and are wearing masks and are shaming people that aren't believing and aren't wearing masks comes because you are rocking their worldview. Like, you're threatening their worldview. Because if you're like, well, wait, I don't believe that there's a contagion, I don't believe that there's a reason to wear a mask, or I believe that masks are ineffective, they're like, but wait, then if A is true, and B is true, and C is true, then A is to C, and then there's leaps of logic that they're not willing to take, such as, well, wait a minute, if the government told me this, but this isn't true, then maybe the government is corrupt. Also insert CDC or WHO or any of these, magical acronyms that people seem to listen to. You have to be like, wait a minute, maybe those things actually aren't right, and maybe they actually aren't telling you the truth, and maybe the TV isn't telling you the truth, and maybe doctors aren't telling you the truth. And oh my God, now you're going to have to question and reassess all these things in your life. Maybe it's just easier if you don't get challenged by anyone else who is not a part of your worldview. That's what I'm finding. Like, I have some people that are or were friends from years ago when I lived back on the East Coast, and when I challenged their worldview, some of them have rejected me, and they are not willing to even interact and have a conversation, because if I tell them the pore size of a mask is greater than 125 nanometers, which is the size of a virus, like, I've had to learn how to talk scientifically to people so that I could, like, get through to their intellect, and still their emotions will reject me. That I've had that experience. So at a certain point, it's like, okay, like, there seems to be, in science class, maybe in high school, you did a density experiment. There's different levels of density, like you pour different liquids, or oil and water, oil and vinegar in a salad dressing. These things have different densities. They find their own specific gravity, and they stay there. Some people are at their own level of density, and they are insulted by and made very uncomfortable by people that are not that dense.
It's like, those flash mobs that you've seen?
Yeah.
It's exactly like there is a certain group of people doing the flash mob thing, and they are psychologically trying to intimidate everyone else into doing the stupid flash mob thing with them, and they're upset that you aren't going along with their little game, but they're trying to attach, like, karmic retribution and repercussions for you not doing the thing.
I hope you go on a ventilator because you're not a part of the flash mob, right?
That's how I see it. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And if only this were a real flash mob with singing and dancing, I'd be like, wait, I want to sing and dance. Like, I'll be a part of it.
No, Aurora, you just have to put a mask on and don't ever say anything or have any facial expressions.
A big part of this is the depersonalization and loss of identity I'm starting to realize some people like that. Some people like to walk around in sunglasses and a mask and have no one know who they are and be kind of be disconnected from others. I think like that's antisocial and unhealthy. I like to connect with people. Like, does that make me wrong? Like, I like to walk around my neighborhood. I know all of my neighbors. I walk past their houses every day. I know most of their names. I know everybody in town. I know the people that own the shops. They all know me. To me, that is healthy and positive. It's not healthy and positive to be like, I'm a robot and you do not ever see my face and I walk around and I have no identity and I simply purchase something at your store. Like, not that seems unhealthy to me.
Yeah.
Like that.
It is, but it shows you the depth of psychosis, because what does the system do from birth? It says you are such and so strawman, and you better remember that because we're going to ask you for those details every single time you try to make a movement. But here in 2020, now we're going to pull the other thing. We're going to say you are a nothing. You have no identity. Put your mask on and don't speak. So it's this Hegelian dialect nonsense, the Orwellian doublespeak bullshit. It's all it is. It's not a difficult concept to understand. It's just that it's very, very pervasive. It's very much seeped. Everyone's mind has been steeping in this like cloud of bullshit.
I think you're bringing up a beautiful point, and I also see this as an embracing of the uniform. Like, when you send kids to school and they have to wear a uniform, or if you join a profession where you have to wear a uniform, some people like that. They like the idea of like, yes, like I fit in with all of the others that are a part of my class. I look the right way. I walk and talk the right way. Like, they derive pleasure center stimulation and a positive identity from conforming and fitting in. And I'm certain that you guys can sense from my life and my clothing and my chosen profession, like, I don't get pleasure from fitting in. Like, I get pleasure from being unique and not fitting in.
Right. But you still have the sort of social norm conformity that says, like, a smile is nice, like, generally speaking, smiling is nice, like, being descriptive with your body language is nice. It's not like, oh, I want to be different at every single occasion, so if you smile, I'm going to frown. No, it's not.
No, all of my unique qualities in socializing, I try to make positive. So, like, I still wear clothes. I don't walk around in my underwear, but I wear colorful clothes. And, so in my neighborhood here, people celebrate that. They're like, oh, nice dress, Aurora. When I lived in Northern California, I lived in a different type of, like, little, kind of like small town. People were very skeptical of me based on my rainbow clothes. They were like, why are you wearing so many colors? What's going on with you walking down the street looking so colorful? So I do understand that, but it's like, yeah, I feel like uniqueness can be positive and add positivity to the world. That it's not something that's like a Brave New World or dystopian science fiction world where if you wear the wrong colors, it is literally an affront to your society and you're seen as a dangerous criminal. Like that's not a good world to be in. I don't want to be in that world. I can't wear beige all the time. No,
it's ridiculous. I don't know, like, I'm confounded most of the time as to how to approach this realm, because what I am is so different from the people just droning around in circles.
Yeah.
All, like, we had the conversation before about the NPC thing, and we were talking about how it's not necessarily healthy to think of other people as automatons, but if you at least did your moral sort of homework and said, is this correct, is this not correct, should I entertain it, blah, 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 and then eventually the thing keeps hitting you in the face, like, people are very different from you, these people are very different from you, they're very different from you, then if you're trying to homogenize the situation inside your own mind and say everyone's pretty much the same, you're lying to yourself. Because they're not, because they're very robotic, and they are very NPC-like for the most part. So if I don't acknowledge that, then I'm giving myself a wrong worldview.
I totally agree. I want to use as an example a lovely friend that I have online who's a mega marathon runner. I think this woman is amazing. Like, she'll, over a weekend, run one of these giant marathons. She might do 63 miles or something like that. It's not egotistical for her to say, hey guys, I just ran 63 miles. Like, that is normal. But you cannot equate that she is the equal of all of the other people in society, because for many people, they never get off the couch. They don't do anything at all. Like, they are not the same in levels of fitness, okay? And she does a ton of inner work and cultivation to be able to do that. It's the same with people like you or me. Like, we are not like the regular people that are sitting on the couch eating a lot of junk food and watching a lot of TV. Mega marathoners, like, of the mind and of the consciousness. And it's not egotistical to say, like, yeah, I just ran 63 miles, because you actually did. And it's not egotistical to say, I'm not like other people, because you actually have the muscles in your structure to show. You know, like, one of the things that you can rest assured in the cosmos that's true, like, that's fair, because there's a lot of unfairness here, you truly get the body that you earn. Like, I'm trying to say, like, in your light body, you know, like your real body, if you do this consciousness work, and you do this cultivation, you do this, it's a heroic, noble thing to do, you have a righteous body. And it, of course, it affects your physicality too. You get healthier in your physical body. But for people that don't do that level of self-cultivation and self-observation, and part of it also is service, but it's not self-sacrificing service. Like, you earn a righteous body through righteous deeds. You do good things to help other people, you definitely increase your light body. But that doesn't mean that everyone should be like, that's it, I'm going to give away all my possessions and devote 100% of my time to, you know, feeding the homeless. Like, that is out of balance, because you also have to feed yourself and take care of yourself too. So it's a balance between these things. But if you don't do those activities, you don't get the psychic muscles. And the psychic muscles, it's about way more than just like what I call dog fighting. Like, you know, in the physicality world, people will set up dog fights where it's just like, this guy versus this guy, and let's just see a lot of blood. There's psychic warfare too, where just dog fighting, where it's just like, let's see, like, you know, like bare knuckle grudge match. Who's gonna rip it out and tear it out, and what's gonna happen? Like, that's not what you do. You're supposed to be like a martial artist, where you're like, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm a black belt. I'm not gonna punch a white belt in the face. Like, you do, like, you have ethics or a value system in the way that you approach your use of your psychic muscles. But yeah, and you can definitely use your muscles to improve a situation, prevent someone else, or mete out cosmic justice. That's gaining more righteousness. Again, my righteousness has nothing to do with the moralism of the Bible.
Yeah, it's like, it's just a different playing field. Like, the actual playing field, right, it's you can't describe it compared to whatever presents on the screen here, because it has nothing to do with it. It's something completely different. Like, the actual playing field, it's so nuanced and subtle that you could have a whole battle could transpire in a conversation, and nobody on the outside even is aware that it happened. That's the actual thing. It's not like, the thing here is like visual and loud and in your face, and it's like, I'm gonna shoot this guy, or even the warfare is just gross. It's not even fun to watch.
You said beautifully, like, you can have psychic warfare in a conversation where it's about energy packets of words. You can also have psychic warfare in terms of frequency. So what we're involved in right now, we're in a time war, but we're also like a temporal war, but we're also in a frequency war. And what we are being, so there's no non-combatants here. Everyone is involved. You can't just be like, I'm just a villager, don't shoot me. Like, you're part of it, no matter what. And the things that are being shot at you are not projectiles. So, you know, you're used to being like, oh, flaming arrows are hitting my village. Like, I better hold up a shield. Like, it's not like that. You're hit with frequency. So you must learn to shield yourself from frequency, and also you get to send out frequency as part of your, like, you know, whatever. It's appropriate. Like, and you don't just have to fight a defensive war either. You don't just have to be like, okay, I'm only going to shoot you if you shoot me. Like, you can preemptively strike, but this is all in the world of pure frequency. And frequency can be something like energy and thought and singing and dancing and the way that you hold your body. I don't think anybody even understands. Body posture is one way that you can fight a battle here. You know, if you send kids to school and you make them have to sit like in these little confined things, or anything where in your life, maybe in your job, where you have to have terrible posture, like I'm sitting in a confined thing like this, my shoulders are hunched over like this, I have to squint at a computer screen, like any of those things, you're being assaulted via posture, and you can fight frequency with posture anytime that you do these expansive movements, anytime that you do things that help you to cultivate your body and have more life force energy flow into you. When I was thinking about what I was going to talk about with you today here, one of the things I wanted to be sure to bring up is I encourage everyone to have a body practice. Like right now, for the past, since October or whatever, it's been a very, very difficult and confusing time. And there are many times when even I feel like my intellect is not the appropriate tool to be able to use to analyze and understand reality. Like, reality does not make effing sense. Your mind is hacked. The mind does not make sense. Talking doesn't work. Talking doesn't help. But what has helped me is body practice stuff. So if you think like every day, like I go for a walk, every day I do, it's not yoga, but I do my version of yoga and stretching and dancing. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a way of fighting back your frequency. I encourage everyone to have a body practice so that even when like your mind and intellect, your intellect and emotions are just like crazy caca poo poo all over the place, but because you train your body, like every day I do this, every day I do this. So even on a day when everything is caca poo poo, you're like, I'm going to do the thing that I do every day. That is what has been keeping me sane. So I encourage everyone, like, if you don't have a practice, start one, but if you've got one, keep going with it, focus on it, make it a regular thing. I think it can help to keep you sane during this time.
Yeah, the body practice I think is very important, namely because the your own present moment is that's your divine little pocket that you operate from. That's where you're the most protected. And if you're being attacked, put yourself mentally in a position where someone's attacking you. Okay, in your mind, the possibilities of you getting hurt, they're here. Okay, they're not on your body. So like all of the fear stuff, even if you don't have a lot of fear, but you're still operating from I should keep the body safe and whatnot, it's all in your mind. Okay, all that stuff is in your mind. Your present moment is almost never actually affected. You are sitting here juggling hypotheticals, and if you do body practice, it brings you into the center, and the center is not bothered. Like it's really not bothered. So if you go back into the body, feel your breath, know that you're not currently being attacked, at least not, likely, hopefully not. But all of the wars are of the mind. Every single war is of the mind. If you zoom into your present moment fully, there's just silence there. No war could possibly penetrate to the core of what we are. That's, in terms of that, all wars are complete games for the divine spark. It's not ever affected by any of it. But like we forget a lot of that when we come in here. So we also forget to center in the body, focus on breath, do stretches, because imagine the guy we were talking about, right? Like the guy who's in his cubicle, who's doing this, and his boss, is that guy ever going to assert himself or have like a strong position or opinion on something with anybody, or is he just internally always going to feel like this? Like
body posture affects your mentality. If your shoulders are hunched over like this, you definitely feel bad about yourself. You feel lower, and if you bring your shoulders back, you're like, I am great. That's a greatness posture. Definitely on all of that. And there's miracles in our body in the sense of like no one acknowledges this. Like your body can be one shape. And then like, I'm now going to do exercises like this, and then your body changes into a different shape. Like, that's a miracle that happens. Like, I didn't used to have muscle fibers, then I went like this, then all of a sudden I had muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen? I don't know. That's a freaking miracle. Exploring things like that, to me, are incredibly gratifying, and they encourage me. I'm not one of these people, like the New Age people that are like, I want to astrally project and get out of my body. Or like everybody wants to get out of their body. I'm like, I actually want to get more and more into my body. I think that the body is a miracle technology, that when you really get into it, you can, like any of these yogis that you might mention from the Far East, like people that studied and it might have been different in hundreds of years ago that there wasn't so much toxicity, but you can do things that are considered superhuman when you cultivate your body. And even beyond, even things like really being able to do star travel with your physical body instead of a rocket ship. Like, I really promote those ideas.
Yeah. Exploring. It to me, it always comes back to, because we're in a constant frequency war barrage, right? Like we're constantly, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you think of is, the first thing I remember is, oh, we're still here. Like, we're in this, like, soupy, gross, disgusting nonsense where, it's like a sin to move around, and it's a sin to breathe, and it's a sin to have a creative thought, and, God forbid I draw a picture or something, because, that's not going along with the thing. So I have to remind myself, okay, outside of that, I'm still myself, and nobody gets to the interior of me unless they want some sort of fucking war or something. So therefore, basically, I am the master of my own movements, and do I want to sit here and think throughout the day, okay, the beast did this to me, he did that to me, he threw water on my fire there, and he did this over here. That stuff will come up, but it is always within your ability if you remember the techniques that you have, like breath work, if you have meditation techniques, if you like stretching, even just stretching, like moving your body around, it does wonders. Like if you've been feeling bad.
stretching is transformative. And also, I mean, I used to always just spontaneously stretch, and I learned that was considered socially inappropriate. Like, if you just jump up from the dinner table and start to stretch your hamstrings or whatever, people will be like, that is a very strange behavior. But I started to do these things anyway because I'm like, I need to do this for my body to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. And it's like the thing, it's like, I would tell people, it's not illegal. Like, what I'm doing is not illegal. And it's part of my own body freedom. And I also was very big on singing along with the music in the grocery store. Mm-hmm. Again, it's not illegal. It's a form of self-expression. That's part of sending out a positive frequency. All of these things, they have a commonality, expansion. That when you start to expand your energy field, you might think thoughts or say things or perform expansive body movements that other people don't like. They're going to try to say something or look at you or do something like, your hat is too big, you know, your energy field is too big, like you're too much into this. And my general premise has been like, hey, if it ain't illegal, like you can't arrest me for it, I'm going to sing in the grocery store. And I would encourage everyone to do your version of whatever that is.
Yeah. Like, I think our main weapon, if you could call it that, against like the stupidity that is going on right now, it's just being like vibrantly and loudly, not necessarily like verbally abusing people, but just the things that you are like, that little voice inside says that would be weird. Like, do that. Just forget about the stupid thing, because the thing that's presenting when people have been taken it's just death. Like, it's living death. People walking around with masks, it's as if you took dead skeletons, like breathed a little spark into them and said, run down the road. Like, that's what they're doing.
Totally.
Do the opposite. Like, live.
I think you have a beautiful descriptive point. You got there. That what they are trying to do, these evil overlords or former overlords of humanity, they're trying to put an overlay on top of us who are alive. That is like a type of program or a worldview that makes you look at yourself as if you're a dead person. Mm-hmm. That either literally thinking that you're already dead and that you're in a hell realm. I can't even describe to you how many beautiful awake people that I know that have had either a near-death experience or some kind of illness or something that happened inside of them. They came out of it and they think like, maybe this is just the afterlife. Maybe this is just the hell. Like that, and I validate that because I have had like a real death experience, and there's this confusion. But I want to affirm to you guys, like, you're not in a computer simulation. You're not in a hell realm. You're in a very real, alive body on a very real, alive planet. But then there's these technological overlays that come on top of us that try to tell you, oh, you're a dead person. Oh, they limit your consciousness and limit your belief and make you think that that's where you are. That the big part of it, like, I want everyone to be resurrected literally. Like don't walk around like a zombie dead person. Walk around like a real person. Like, walk around like whatever, like that Bible story. Like, get off of your bed and walk around. Like, don't be a dead person. Like Lazarus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even just being animate, like, if you're with someone else in a grocery store, and even if you put the masks on because of whatever, you don't want to have a fight, if you're having like an animate, like hands waving, conversation with the person next to you, that one thing that's happening in there affects the entire store.
Totally.
Because the rest of them are like, I am dead.
Totally head down zombified. I'm in California. In order to buy food at the grocery store, I have to wear a mask, and so that I face real challenges here because I'm against it. I don't want to have to do it, but I also I'm not totally able to subsist on what I have out of my garden outside. So I have like a schmata that I can put on, but I always make eye contact, actually talk with people, even though it's difficult to hear people through the muffledness of the mask. Like you say, I try to bring it back to that human connection and not just perform some kind of a routine. What is it called? Like, interaction, when you just give and take, like, buy and sell. Like, I give you this, you give me this, and I'm out of here. Like, I try to make a real conversation with the people that are at the store.
Yeah. Because it builds whatever you are entertaining in your moment builds on itself. So if you go into the store with like, oh, I got to get this thing done and I got to wear this thing on my face, you're going to carry that home, and then you're going to be like, oh, I got to like clean the thing, and I got to, and the thing is you don't ever get anywhere. Okay. You're always in yourself.
Right.
You're not going to get somewhere. So like if in every single moment that you have, you're like, oh, I got to do this thing, I got to get to the next thing. Like your whole life is going to be a consecutive like oh, I gotta do the thing, and it's fucking boring, and you're not gonna want to live. So you're gonna tend toward got my mask on and no more expressions.
You know, you hit on chorefulness as being the antithesis of bliss. Like when I was talking about those natural feelings of ascension that I started to go into, and I found what could bring me out of it really quickly was chorefulness. This sense of like, oh, I have to vacuum the floor. Oh, I have to scrub the toilet. Oh, I have to put away these dishes. Like, those things are, like, other than quality of life, because, of course, like, you want to not have bugs and gross stuff in your house, but, like, you can accomplish those things very quickly and succinctly without having to think about them at all. But chorefulness is part of what keeps us stuck in the matrix. And usually you think, like, yeah, in order to be a good person, you have to have a laundry list of all the things you have to do. Like, today I have to do this, 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 and this, and that makes me a good, responsible person. And that's according to society's rules. But I'm telling you, what really makes you a good person is how much can you stay connected to your divinity while you're doing your chores, or while you're getting shit done, or while you're, you know, doing your ordinary stuff here in the world. What really matters is like, oh, like I spent 99% of my time today connected to the divine. Like that was a good day.
Yeah. If you just make that your goal, if you just make, even however you portray that to yourself, just I just say like being present, staying in the body rather than going out in the mind, right? If you can actually pull that off for a day, you will be amazed. Like you most of us don't even know have any clue what we are. Even those of us like you and I who we seem to have more of a clue than regular people, but still I know even us, like we're not even, I'm not meditating all day, whereas if I were, I know that the things I'm trying to strive for, they would more organically flow into my experience. It's like we get comfortable and complacent and you forget you're alive. Like you're just up in the mind all the time, and that's not where life is.
I wish I could have a day that was just 100% flying rainbow lasagna dance and music. Like that would be so easy for me. I would be like, wow, like that's all I have to do. Like that would be so easy. But like, of course, I live in the world, so there's like we have to like take out the garbage and wash the dishes and prepare food and make food and clean up after it. And there are chores and there's laundry and there's all these other things. And then on top of that, money earning tasks and things like that. Like it's very challenging to be here like that. And that's not some kind of like when they're like first world problems. You're like, oh, like I have to log into my computer account and pay a bill. Like it's not the same as schlepping water from a well. That's very true. But even still, the idea like, oh, gotta log in, gotta do my computer work, gotta answer my emails, gotta do my wholesale orders, like all of these things take me out of the moment and take me out of my bliss. And yeah, life would be a lot easier if all I had to do was do music and dance.
It's also just that you can, something I had to, and I still have to work on this daily, but the things that pull at you, like money things, or if you have child support like I do, there are lots of things, even your own bills, like you could get a grudge against the system for having to pay rent.
Right.
If you can let go of the feeling of that it's negative, just ask yourself, do I have to do this? What would happen if I didn't do this? Right. Just find out what would happen. Oh, I would be homeless. Or I would have to live with daddy again or mommy.
Right.
And then realize, oh, I do have to do this. And yes, even if the system's unfair, it is something I have to do, and let go of the whole like poor pitiful me because I have to do this. Then you can actually do it, feel happy that, you know, you have a roof over your head or something. And it's very unconscious. Like all of the things that get us feeling down and bad, it's all unconscious. And if you stay present as much as possible throughout the day, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to perform that when you're doing the things that would normally get you into a bad mood, and that energy will carry itself in it. You'll also affect other people.
The bad mood thing, don't spiral down into the bad mood. So if I tell everybody, like, hey guys, you're already supposed to have been ascended, like from last October, like to the point where like you're not supposed to be eating hamburgers or wearing clothes or living in an enclosure called a house, you guys would all be pretty mad. So it's definitely not fair. The circumstance that we're in right now is cosmically unfair. But while we're in this interim state, because like we're supposed to be like blast off into a world of pure imagination, like, you know, a place like that you would consider like a fantasy world, but not a fantasy world, a place where you're really empowered to use your consciousness to create the world around you. That's your birthright. That's what we're supposed to already be experiencing. but we're still in this frequency battle fighting for that level of freedom. So while we're fighting, yeah, you can't go into a downward spiral of depression or bitterness at like, oh, we don't have that yet. And you do have to celebrate the minor victories. Like if I'm able to spend 4 hours a day focused on art and music and dancing and then do my chores at the end of the day, like that's still pretty good. That's 4 hours of divine connection. Like you gotta celebrate the incremental victories and the parts and the things that are good and try to capitalize on that enthusiasm. Because it's just like this, like, you know, in different wars, if there was a POW camp, some people that were prisoners would get very depressed and they would stay in their beds and they would usually succumb to some form of, you know, infection or something, a disease would get them. And there were some people who would always like get up every day and like try to wash their face or try to shave or like try to comb their hair and like try to remain as human as, you know, as much your real self as you possibly can. We're in a POW camp right now, even though they're invisible bars, frequency bars that are holding us in. But what you can't do is just be like, go into depression or self-sabotage or addiction or any of the things that would just make you die and be destroyed. You have to try to be like, well, I will get up and water my garden, or I will get up and do something positive. I will help someone else. I will give someone some tomatoes. I will do something. Like, you have to try to do that. The guys who survived the POW camps are the guys that got up and shaved every day.
Yeah.
You got to try to do that. I'm not telling you have to shave your beard. You're fine. But allegory, it's a symbol.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always the same. It's always the same thing. If you're in the situation you're in, like,
Yeah.
if you have found out that you're in a prison with invisible bars, and you look around you and you're like, that kind of makes sense. Well, the first thing to do is say, okay, I am in this situation. I am here, and I am in it. Maybe it sucks, maybe it doesn't suck, but your adjectives that you use to describe it are less important than the fact that you are in that situation. So, and you can even use it as far as the internal feeling state and how important it is. Just think of a king, right? An actual king who's actually directing shit. How do people try to get to him? They try to get to his woman, right? Or someone who has influence over him. They try to get him in a bad mood or something to try to alter the flow of his decision-making process. And it's not anything about, let's go drop a bomb on his head, even though someone might be stupid enough to do that. It's about trying to get them to shake internally. If you get someone in a position of power, and we are in a position of power, even if we're in a prisoner of war camp, we are in a position of power. And how does somebody affect us? They get us internally to do this and to mope and to buy into all of this stupid propaganda. The propaganda is not even worth your time to even look into or even to acknowledge it as propaganda. It's that low level of propaganda.
I completely agree with what your assessment on the propaganda. Like, maybe a couple of years ago, I spent a lot of time furiously typing on the internet where I'm going to tell everybody the truth and give you clarity. And at a certain point, I'm like, you know something? Instead of spending so much of my energy on the speaking and communicating, what I would rather do is take that energy and use it for nourishment for my own journey. Like, I wrote enough things. I wrote enough blogs to people about what should be going on, and then at a certain point what I said was, what matters more is spending my creative energy on writing a song or painting a painting or doing some form of expansive body exercise that makes me feel better. And that's what I went into. That's pretty much what I've been focusing on for the past year or so, that I'm now into. Much like, instead of fighting with people on the internet or trying to, you want to red pill people, you want to shake them by the shoulders and be like, snap out of it, like, listen to reason, I tell you. I haven't given up on people, but what I've decided is that I can help the situation more by doing something like writing a song that speaks beyond words. That's why I've been doing a ton of songwriting over the past couple of months, because it's been keeping me sane. And then I send out this music to other people and they listen to it, and it's music that you can use to, like, get out of those unhappy feelings, go more towards bliss, turn off your intellect, go into an imagination realm that's positive. It's not escapism. It's very, very grounded in what I'm doing. What's
your site called again, if you want to plug it a little bit?
Thank you for the plug. If you guys go to soundcloud.com, you can just put in the search terms Aurora's original music, and my playlist should come up. Because as an artist, I'm called NFN, no first name Aurora. It might be hard to find me, but put in Aurora's original playlist, and you should be able to find all of my new songs. There's about 20 or so, maybe 21. And I love doing it. I love the process of figuring out how to fit together these individual puzzle pieces of a song, like these loops of them together. It brings me out of my intellect and into more of like my feelings of my body. And then when I make the music afterwards, I can listen to it, I can dance to it. Like, because for a long time what I did was I would find someone else's song, like by another artist that I really liked, and just put on my headphones and listen to it over and over and over. Like that, kind of like a self-hypnosis. Like, I'm just gonna like use this song to keep the demons at bay. And at a certain point I was like, okay, like I'm bored with everyone else's music, and I need to still like have song. Like I started to cook for myself, make my own music, so that I could then kind of feed myself and encourage myself on my journey. So I make this music to be like uplifting and also powerful. Like some of my music is very like, you know, airy fairy and nice, but some of it is very powerful. Like sometimes you need songs that kick ass, because that's the moment. Like these are songs for the soundtrack of your life, where you're like, oh, that's that part in my life where I kicked demonic ass and, you know, made everything get better. And then, like, I have some music that's like, oh, this is so peaceful, and I put this on in the morning when I'm watering my garden and drinking my coffee. And, like, you know, you got to have different outfits for different occasions. You got to have different songs for different things that are going on. And, yeah, I structure my day by playing songs.
There it is.
You know, I play over and over. Oh,
Sorry, hold on. Sorry. I didn't mean to, like, play this.
you're fine.
Okay. I was trying to find the link to put in the comments section, because...
That would be great if you could do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because also it's totally free to listen, but then I get paid by ad revenue the more people that, because my things are monetized, so it definitely helps me. The more people that find my music and that share it with others, it helps me algorithmically, so thank you in advance to anybody who takes the time to listen.
Yeah, right. I just put the link for your music in the comments. We're coming up on an hour and a half, so I think it's about time to probably say goodbye. And I gotta pee, so...
That's the true timer, the biological
Right. Hi, Cheeky. I see her in the background over on
She's
the...
being such a good dog right now, totally chilling out. We did a pretty long WALK this morning, and it was pretty hot out, and she's like wiped out.
Uh-huh. Cheeky! Hey!
What do you say? She might be sleeping too much.
No, she's up. She's got her head up.
Our friend, they know each other. Cheeky loves you. Yeah, and my other prescription, like I tell you, like be in your body, do a body thing, listen to music. Also, if you can, hug a dog. Like if things are crazy in your intellect and your emotions and the world is like just a nightmare, hug a dog. Like that keeps me sane. I'm like, oh my God, external battery pack. Like come to me now.
Yeah, if you have animals, they're like little batteries that aren't gonna drain you at the same time as they're trying to. They're very good.
Totally.
We love our
Hug a
pets.
cat first. I don't need to be so dog-centric.
I'm a cat person. You're a dog person. It's fine.
I used to be a cat person before my old boss went to heaven, so.
Cats are like... Dogs are like... Yay, loud, like move around, get love, give love. They're so like exuberant, and I'm more chilled out, so the cats are like, whatever.
It's more with you.
Yeah.
I need a lot of hugs and kisses every day from my dog or cat, and my cat was always like, meh. Like, my dog is like, I'm ready for hugging and kissing anytime. So that's why
right.
good for me.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Aurora. Thanks for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Yeah, and we'll do it again sometime, like always. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Okay. Thank you, everybody.